Glitches in video games come in many forms, a few of them simple, some useful for speedruns, and others that can break the game. But this video is about the glitches that make you wonder how in the world did someone find this. Every glitch you'll see in this video can be done on all versions of the game. I'm clarifying that because I do generally use the Japanese Wii Virtual Console version, but they still work fine on the English version, on the Wii U, and on the Nintendo 64. One more thing I do want to bring up before we jump straight to the glitches is that I will be using a few terms such as pixel-perfect and frame-perfect in this video. If you aren't sure exactly what those mean, I explain them in better detail in the description below. With that said, let's get to our number 10 glitch, the Blue House Skip. This is one of the most well-known glitches in the game, and I know what a few of you might be thinking. Isn't the Blue House Skip incredibly difficult? Why is it only number 10? Well, it is fairly challenging, but that just puts into perspective how difficult all the glitches in this video really are. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the Blue House Skip allows us to access Chapter 5 early. The door to this house is locked from the inside, and there's a pipe in the Blue House that leads to a portion of the sewers which isn't normally accessible until you obtain sushi. So let's break down how to perform the Blue House Skip. To start off the glitch, we position Mario near this toad. We need to perform a left jump onto a very small piece of collision on the house. But if you try to do that, you'll likely end up talking to the toad when you press A. However, if Mario spins, the dialogue option for the toad disappears. Then we can hold left and full jump towards the house. The next step is to neutralize the control stick so Mario can perform a frame-perfect neutral full jump when we reach the ledge. As soon as the second jump is executed, the control stick must be held upright. Within the next few frames, the angle must be changed to straight up, and then changed once again to up left. If done correctly, Mario will end up falling inside the house through the roof, allowing him to access the pipe to the sewers and enter Yoshi's village after defeating Blooper, effectively skipping chapters 2, 3, and 4. Chapter 6 currently has the least amount of glitches in Paper Mario, but still manages to sneak its way into a top 10. Our number 9 glitch is Early Lackluster, which can be done by first jumping towards Wise Wisterwood from a precise position while holding up. If Mario's position is correct, it's possible to jump once again, similar to the Blue House Skip. This jump will help us get out of bounds behind the tree. We're going to maneuver around this invisible wall while falling out of bounds by holding up for a very specific amount of time. Then Mario must stand at the back ledge near this exact position. We now make Mario fall off the seam, holding down for a split second so that we touch the left loading zone for only one frame, which will store the next room until we activate it by touching the ground. This is known as loading zone storage, or LZS for short, and it'll eventually make more appearances in this video. At this point, we need Mario to fall back on land at a position where his angle will be skewed in the next room. This is done by holding right and then switching to down towards the beginning of the fall. Mario should take the loading zone when he touches the ground, and will fall out of bounds in the next room. Next, we need to maneuver this seam, and jump around the loading zone to reach the background. Once there safely, Mario can head to the Sun Tower and fight Lackluster, skipping a huge portion of Chapter 6. It's worth noting that performing this skip makes it impossible to plant the beanstalk and fight Huff and Puff, so the Peach Warp glitch must be used after obtaining Lackluster to completely skip the chapter. Next up at number 8 is Clippy Boots, which allows us to obtain the Ultra Boots without any hammer upgrades. Two metal blocks impede Mario's progress, but they can be skipped by using a hitbox glitch known as Clippy. To get Clippy, we need to encounter an enemy on the same frame as pulling up the partner menu while riding Lackluster. After running away from the fight, we switch partners, which makes the game incorrectly assume Mario still has Lackluster's hitbox, even though we aren't using him. This allows us to clip through some solid walls by holding precise angles. After progressing into the next room, we pretty much have to repeat the first step, getting into a battle with the partner menu up. Following the fight, this one's a little more challenging. Not only must a precise angle be held, but we also have to use a Lackluster teleport clip, where we use Lackluster while he's trying to catch up to Mario. The game assigns Lackluster a speed relative to the distance between him and Mario, which can incorrectly offset the position he is mounted from. This shift in Lackluster's position is enough to clip through the block and reach the Ultra Boots. Thankfully, on the way out, we don't have to worry about the blocks as Mario will walk right through them. Many Paper Mario players know that you can obtain the Power Plus badge from this treasure chest if you manage to defeat Anti-Guy. Some might even know that giving Anti-Guy a lemon candy will allow you to obtain it without fighting him. But hardly anyone knows that you can perform a glitch to skip both of these sequences. That's where the Anti-Guy skip comes in, which takes number 7 in our countdown. Just like the previous glitch, this takes advantage of Clippy to manipulate Mario's hitbox. Once this is done, Mario can clip between Anti-Guy and the chest with an angle-perfect input during a full jump. While it is simple to keep attempting this glitch, it is incredibly difficult to get it on the first try, since the precise angle that you need to hold during the jump changes depending on Mario's position. Afterwards, you can peace out and leave Shy Guy's toy box, or even fight Anti-Guy with his own badge. The Ruin Stone skip comes in at number 6, and first requires us to skip storyline triggers using glitches such as the Blue House skip. This means we can obtain Lackluster before completing Chapter 2, which then allows us to skip the Diamond, Pyramid, and Lunar Stones. To do this, we have Mario push Lackluster from this position, which must be done very carefully. As you've probably already noticed, Mario's partners replicate his recent actions, which are stored using a queue. By pushing a partner, you change their position without actually updating the queue, meaning they will return to their initial position before following you again. If done with Lackluster, this sets up a teleport clip similar to the one seen during the Clippy Boots trick. If Mario pushes Lackluster all the way here and eventually updates the queue, Lackluster will return to his position. Then by using Lackluster on this exact frame, our position will glitch out, and we can enter Toot and Koopa's lair without lowering the stairs. What's more interesting about this is that we skip a vital storyline trigger, effectively preventing the Star Spirit card from spawning after the fight. So if we beat Toot and Koopa after performing this glitch, we'll be able to instantly leave the room and reset the entire boss sequence as much as we'd like. Similar to Refight Goomba King from the previous top 10 video, this can be a fun way to grind star points. Leading our top 5 is Paracareless Seed, which ironically doesn't look too difficult, but believe me, it's certainly not easy. The first step is to clip out of bounds by performing a sub-pixel-perfect jump on this piece of geometry. Not only is the jump incredibly precise, but a precise left angle must be held and input on the same frame as the jump to reach this out-of-bounds pixel-perfect seam. At this point, a perfect down-left angle must be held to avoid accidentally ending up back in bounds. At the end of this seam, we have Mario jump off and navigate onto another pixel-perfect seam, which again requires holding a series of precise angles to avoid getting back in bounds. Once we're within falling distance of this ledge, we can force Mario to fall off and speak with his bubble to obtain the magical seed without Paracarry, which saves about a minute of backtracking and tool-assisted speedruns. The background swap glitch was just discovered during the making of this video, and ended up being classified as one of the most difficult glitches in this game, taking number 4. Upon defeating a chapter boss, Mario can free the Star Spirit from the card, which begins the chapter summary and the Peach interlude. Another thing you've probably noticed is that the current frame becomes the background when Mario opens the pause menu. Why am I telling you this? Because things are about to get pretty cool. To begin explaining this precise glitch, let it be known that our goal is to pause while we touch the Star Spirit card. However, it's not quite as simple as you might think. The Star Spirit card happens to have an elliptical hitbox, which moves relative to the position of the card during its animation. The card's hitbox can intersect with Mario's hitbox the frame after we buffer a pause from a sub-pixel-perfect position. On other Star Spirit cards, this trick is nearly impossible, since the positional margin of error is extremely small. Thankfully, this Star Spirit card actually has a larger hitbox, and there's a convenient piece of angled geometry that pushes Mario into the correct sub-pixel-perfect y-axis position if he walks up against it. From here, we walk as close to the card as possible without touching it, then input start and right on the analog stick on the same frame. Not only that, but the card must be at a certain height while descending so that it touches Mario's hitbox the frame after we input the pause. If all of this is performed correctly, the pause background will overwrite all of the game's normal backgrounds. This effect persists between rooms, battles, and even the title screen. Entering houses and walking around a few areas of the game also look very different if their backgrounds were originally dark. If I had to choose, the game over and title screens are probably my favorite parts of this glitch. Speaking of the title screen, it's possible to start a new game with the background still swapped. The only ways to make the backgrounds return to normal are to either reset the game, or pause and unpause to set the manipulated memory addresses back to normal. One of the craziest loading zone storage glitches in this game is known as Cooper Skip, which takes the number 3 spot. On the way to the Koopa Bros fortress, this river prevents Mario's progress until he obtains Cooper. That is, unless you do this glitch. Since this can be really hard to follow, here's a visual explanation of what's going to happen. To start, we're going to store the loading zone on the left with precise jumps. Not only will all of these jumps be frame perfect, but jumping in place over and over won't do us any good. Therefore, we also have to angle the analog stick in the desired direction on the same frame we jump. This is made more difficult because we need to trick the game into thinking Mario is in the air for an extra frame, forcing us to neutralize the analog stick at the end of each jump to prevent the loading zone from taking precedence. After initially storing the loading zone, we fall off the edge and angle Mario towards a pixel-perfect out-of-bounds seam, which we will then navigate while doing more frame-perfect jumps. When Mario reaches the edge of the foreground seam, we will fall towards the invisible out-of-bounds seam of the bridge, which exists even though the bridge hasn't been raised. Still doing the frame-perfect jumps, we'll continue towards the loading zone on the right, eventually overriding the initially stored loading zone and allowing us to progress. Now let's take a look at how it's done in-game. Thanks to a number of glitches, it's possible to skip Cooper entirely. That being said, due to the insane difficulty of these glitches, they are not used in speedruns even though they save a few minutes. There's one glitch I was unable to show in my Chapter 7 glitch compilation simply because of its sheer difficulty. It's called the blue key skip, and it just barely misses the number 1 spot. Alright, now that was a little too fast, so let's back up and break that down. To clarify, Mario is currently in front of the mirror. First, we're going to perform a spin jump into a precise position of the cave. The spin jump animation is cancelled, and now a precise angle must be held to reach a slightly higher position. Here's where it gets more complicated. Loading zones extend upwards infinitely and will take Mario as long as he's on land for more than 1 frame. Since we're currently on land above a loading zone, we have loading zone storage, but still need more height to fall out of bounds. Now we must perform a near angle perfect and frame perfect jump further inside this wall. After a few frames, Mario will be grounded again, forcing us to do a blind near angle perfect and frame perfect jump. On this frame, we push against the wall by holding a precise angle to gain more height. Once here, there is another near angle perfect and frame perfect jump to clip behind the mirror. All that in less than a single second. Afterwards, we continue the LZS with more frame perfect jumps and open the door to Crystal Palace. Since we're now behind the mirror, we can go break the wooden panel in this room. In order to progress, we need to get back to the foreground, meaning we get to do that whole string of frame perfect inputs all over again, this time with different angles. Now we have access to the room containing the red key without obtaining the blue key, skipping a fight with Duplighosts and saving a decent amount of time backtracking. The most difficult glitch in Paper Mario involves a series of complicated tricks used to collect the letters on Mount Rugged for Paracareless. Again, a visual is necessary to explain what's going on. We'll be entering from here, clipping out of bounds in this area, meandering this seam, landing on another seam, storing the backside of this loading zone from out of bounds, falling back towards our starting position, then continuing the storage with frame-perfect jumps to skew our angle entering the next room. Then we can get the first letter very quickly and head back towards the first clip. After doing that once more, we'll do a series of falls to remain in line with this seam, then fall into the rocks beneath the slide. Finally, we can fall once more to obtain this letter without Cooper. Obtaining the third letter visually makes sense, so let's just get straight to the actual glitch. To first get out of bounds, we'll be using a Sub-pixel-pefect clip into this wall. Holding a precise angle for an exact amount of time allows us to land on this pixel-perfect seam. Once we make our way towards the left edge, we fall out of bounds to reach another pixel-perfect seam, again at a precise angle for a very specific amount of time. From that position, we need to touch the loading zone at the top for 1 frame, which inconveniently has invisible walls surrounding it. So the only possible method of storing it is by performing a multi-angle perfect out-of-bounds fall, holding each angle for a specific number of frames to reach the pixel-perfect corner of the loading zone. Once stored, we hold a precise down right angle to reach the ground level and perform 2 frame-perfect jumps to skew Mario's angle. While out of bounds there, we must hold another precise angle to make Mario fall onto the same level as the letter. Afterwards, we backtrack and perform the first clip again, this time heading right after reaching the pixel-perfect seam. With a series of precise angles, we make our way into the wall behind the Power Quake badge, and can fall once more onto the platform with the letter. The final letter is by far the easiest to obtain of the 3, but still isn't really considered viable in real-time speedruns, since you must store the loading zone with multiple frame-perfect jumps to collect the letter, saving a few frames of backtracking. As always, thank you guys for watching. I still plan on making more top 10 glitch videos, so if that's something you're interested in, feel free to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Twitter at Strider7x. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to my friends Rain and Malio for helping provide glitch footage making this video possible. They both upload Nintendo related videos on their channels, so I've left links in the description if you'd like to check them out. But that's all for this video, so until next time.